My name's Bill Coate, and I've been a teacher in Madera Unified for a long time. What I'd like to do is tell you a little story about Madera Unified and how it got started and maybe even where it's going to go. Madera's first school was built in 1877, a long time ago. The town was founded in 1876. And before it was a year old, the people built a school. Now they named their school East Side School because it was on the east side of town. The first school was just a one-story frame building. Later they tore that down and built a two-story frame building. And then later they tore that down, actually it burned, and they built a three-story brick building. Still East Side School. They didn't have kindergarten back in those days, but they had first through eighth grade. Not very many students. Over the next few years, Madera grew a lot. By 1892, they needed a second school. So they built this one on the other side of Yosemite, and they called it West Side School. So they had East Side School and West Side School. Then in 1893, a couple ladies got the grand idea, you know what? We need a high school in this town. So in 1893, the Board of Supervisors created Madera High School District. They didn't have a building, however. So the West Side School became the school building for the high school on the second floor and the elementary on the bottom floor. And that's the way that remained for the high school students until 1904. 1904, Madera built its first high school, and the turn of the century, they built Lincoln School. Now, Lincoln School was built just across the street from what is now the old Courthouse Museum. And in the first years of its existence, it had first through eighth grade. They built Pershing School. Now, this Pershing School was located up Yosemite, East Yosemite, across from what had been the old East Side School. And they had classes from the first through the fifth grade there. Then in 1922, Madera built its fourth school. Now this was Washington School, and Washington School was built where Washington School is now. Elementary district was, they were needing another school, so they built one, and they called that school Luther Burbank School. It was a K-6 school, and they held classes there until 1935. And I suppose maybe it was because of declining enrollment, not sure what, but they closed Luther Burbank School in 1935. That building is still there on Madera Avenue, 145. You go by it, it sure looks like a school, but it's been a long time since it's had any students there. And that's the way that things remained for a while. By the 1950s, Madera had grown where they needed, there was an explosion in education. Madera built another school. They called it Sierra Vista because you could see the Sierras from where they were. They built John Adams School. They built James Madison School, James Monroe School, and then broke the ground for the first time ever, a junior high school in Madera. They named this one Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson opened up in 1953, and when that happened, they closed Lincoln School. The 7th and 8th graders started going to the new junior high school. The last school to be built in the 1950s in that explosion of school was
Millview School.
Folks, that's pretty much the way that the district went until 1965. While all of this was going on in Madera, there were schools operating out in what we call the country. On the outskirts were these little farming communities, and every little farming community built its own school. While Madera was building its schools, the farmers over in the Eastern Arcola district built a school. And this was in the 1890s. Then Lavina School was built by the John Brown Colony, and then Howard School was built by the Howard Wilson Farming Colony. And then Berenda, the folks in the Berenda district got into the act. Then Alpha, and then Dixieland, and Ripperton, Webster School District. Communities all around Madera formed their own schools. They were individual school districts. So in time, there were 9 different school districts surrounding Madera. So Madera Union High School District and those 9 elementary school districts constituted what became Madera Unified School District. Now, how did that happen? You have to remember that each of the elementary school districts represented communities, and each community was jealous of its own prerogatives. It was their tax dollars that built their school. Now, outside of Madera, Madera was the only school district that I've mentioned that had more than one school. All of these outlying school districts represented the community that they guarded. They each had their own identity. But the state was really pushing hard to unify these school districts. And so they threw out the carrot. We will make it worth your while monetarily if you will unify. And so they held a vote in 1965. Now look what that meant. If you were a teacher or a parent or a student at Eastern Arcola School, you lost your authority. Madera would take you over. And so the people in the outlying areas, most of them did not want that. They wanted to be the boss of their own school districts. They didn't want Madera to take over their school. Certainly that was true of Eastern Arcola. Eastern Arcola, they were independent. No, Madera is not going to tell us what to do. We're going to run our own school. Well, they had the election. The problem was they counted all the votes in all those school districts. And if they got more yes votes than they had no votes, whether you wanted to or not, you're sucked up into this thing called Madera Unified School District. Well, they had the vote, and here's how it went. Madera, all 4 precincts in Madera voted yes. Dixieland voted yes. Howard voted yes. Alpha voted no. Lavina voted no. Eastern Arcola voted no. Ripperton voted no. Berenda voted no. Webster didn't get 1 yes vote in their whole district. They voted no. But the outcome of the election, he counted all the votes in all 10 districts, 870 votes yes, 697 votes no. So it passed. Madera Unified became a district in 1965. They did not start operation until the next year, but they had their own school board and they selected their own superintendent. Well, who would they get? Nearly every principal in the outlying school districts wanted that job, felt they ought to have that job. And certainly the principal of Madera Union High School thought that he ought to have that job. But that board, it was thinking otherwise. Dwayne Furman, who was the superintendent of the Madera Elementary School District, he was at his daughter's graduation, and somebody came up to him just before the ceremony and tapped him on the shoulder. And they said, "Please come with us. The Madera Unified School District Board wants to see you." And he went with this person, and he met with the Madera Unified School District Board, and they offered him the job as superintendent, and he accepted. So that's how we got started. There was a flurry of school buildings, construction after unification, but I kind of want to hold off on that. There's something we have to deal with, something that Madera had to deal with that cropped up in the 1970s. The election was held in 1965. Madera Unified became operational in 1966, and shortly after that, some demographic changes began to take place in Madera. As agriculture expanded in Madera, there was an increase in the Hispanic population, so that the ethnic composition of the town and consequently the schools shifted from primarily Anglo to more toward a preponderance of Hispanic students. As that occurred, Madera had to face that, and this attempt to come to grips with the diverse ethnic makeup of the schools came in 1974. In 1974, Madera experienced some social turmoil in its schools. It began when a 16-year-old Hispanic student at Madera High School threw another student, a female student, into the swimming pool. And two female teachers were standing not far away, and they saw that. So they attempted to apprehend the student who did the pushing, and he resisted. He refused to give his name. So the two female teachers called for help. Madera High School's vice principal and its learning director came to their assistance, and the youth fled. And somewhere in the vicinity of 5th Street and O Street, the vice principal and the learning director caught him. Now, what happened after that is the subject of controversy. The youth says that the vice principal threw a rock at him, and so he took a martial arts stance, and a tussle ensued. The vice principal and the learning director, they say, no, that's not true, no rocks were thrown, that the student took an aggressive stance toward them, and they, feeling it was necessary to bring him back to school, they laid hands on him, and there was a tussle, and they went to the ground, and the student wound up with a bloody nose and some scratches. So the word got out, and this resulted in protest on the part of some of the Hispanic students, subsequently by some of the Hispanic parents. They complained to the Madera County District Attorney, and the district attorney filed charges. And so Madera High School vice principal and that learning director had to stand trial for assault and battery on that student. The district hired a lawyer to defend the two employees. In the meantime, there was an uproar of discontent among the Hispanic community. They wanted, the student had been suspended, so they wanted these two educators to be suspended, and the district refused to do that. And so what developed was a rift between the two communities. The Parents' Council of Madera High School, which was primarily Anglo, rose up in support of the educators who were on trial. And the Hispanic community, represented by MAPA, Benavides, there was Padres Unidos of Madera, another organization that demanded that something be done with these two educators. The trial took 5 days. It was so serious in Madera that the judge sequestered the jury at the Madera Valley Inn. They didn't let them go home during the length of this trial. This was a cause célèbre in Madera. But on Sunday, the 1st of September, they reached a verdict, and the verdict was not guilty. This resulted in a backlash within a large part of the Hispanic community, certainly those connected with Madera High School. And so we began to have a series of protests, and students walked out of classes for several days running. The conflict became so distractive and destructive of what was going on in Madera that the district said, okay. And so they hired a liaison person to work with two groups, and finally, by 1975, that particular issue was kind of faded into the background. And Madera went on, you might call it an uneasy truce. Things kind of limped on like that until finally, by the 1990s, Madera knew it had to do something. By 1992, things were so difficult that the students themselves decided to take charge of the situation and come to grips with the unrest that was taking place within Madera High School. And they decided to hold a forum.
For 2 years, organizers of the forum planned for the day when students would come together, black, brown, and white, all in one room to discuss their differences.
Let's get together and let's air this problem. And so they did.
Anytime anybody wants to come up and ask me something or give me a concern, go ahead and do so. No one has done that this entire year. I don't know if you're afraid to come up to me or afraid I won't respond, but that's my job, and that's why I ran for this position.
I didn't even know who you were. You know, how was I going to know to go up to you that you were the president? I didn't know who you were.
The superintendent, Tom Riley, and the principal, Bo Carter, he was a great help. And so was Andy Beeks and Matilda Torres. And they brought in a sociology professor from Sacramento. And currently the superintendent of Madera Unified, Todd Lyle. In 1992, he was a senior, and he was the commissioner of intercultural relations.
Without some work and without some effort, then what we're going to do is keep furthering the problem, keep widening the divide between races and between groups and between people. And that's not to me what America is about.
On this day of the forum, to break down the barriers, the students were going to initiate this.
And you're seeing people getting elected because of popularity. It's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to, when you do something, you're supposed to come right, come correct, and don't fail. And we have failed in that, and I hope things change.
And change is what students hope will come of this forum.
The The thing that really drew the attention was Rudy Trevino, who was an anchor, well-known anchor in Channel 30 in Fresno. So Trevino looked at the situation and he agreed to come. He said, yeah, I can help. And so Trevino moderated this forum, and the student body gathered in the gymnasium, and all day long they hashed this thing back and forth. And somewhere in the mix of those revelations, as groups listened to other groups, something happened. Prior to that, different groups had designated areas of the campus that no other group was allowed to. You know, they had cultural geography on the campus of Madera High School. This is their territory. But after that forum, the territories evaporated to a large extent. They went away. And a miracle really occurred in Madera High School. So that conflict that began, the conflict in 1974, which picked at the scab of racism and opened up the underlying hostility and discontent. That thing ran for almost 20 years until the students, they bit the bullet.
As the moderator, I saw the students take a serious interest in everything from gangs and graffiti to the school's political system.
And with the help of this moderator, Rudy Trevino, the students diffused that issue. And Madera then moved into what we now have as a cultural tranquility in our schools. I visit a number of schools every year working with them, and that racial animosity is not present today, due in large part to what happened there in 1992. After unification, Madera Unified built a second Alpha School. The old Alpha School had been torn down, wasn't in use. So they built a new school and named it Alpha. And then Madera Unified built a new Berenda School. And the school named it Berenda. They built a Cesar Chavez School. They built a new Lincoln School. And then of course there's Nishimoto, Parkwood. They built a second Pershing School, Rose Elementary, that concurrent enrollment middle school, MadTech. And then they built Desmond Middle School, Martin Luther King Middle School. And then, of course, they had earlier built a second campus to Madera High School. They created a second high school, so that campus was no longer Madera High School South Campus, it was Madera South High School. And then here recently, the district has constructed a beautiful edifice in Matilda Torres High School. We don't want to forget the alternative education. While Madera Unified was building these new schools through the 90s and into the 2000s, the Madera Adult School was progressing. Furman High School was formed, Furman Elementary was formed, Mountain Vista was formed. They made a court school out of Ripperton. So while the district was burgeoning with over 20,000 students, it also put into place these alternative plans for educating those with some peculiar and special educational needs. There's one part that we don't want to leave out, and that's the creation of Golden Valley Unified School District, Measure A, on June the 2nd, 1998, passed. So it authorized the creation of another school district out of the Webster area. The relationship between the two school districts has moved forward, and they've embraced each other as true colleagues and partners in the enterprise of educating its youth. So here we are, Madera Unified School District. Look how far this district has come. Look at the challenges that it has faced, from building that first school, and then as the years passed and the needs for education grew, and the district faced the challenges of educating its youth in terms of building schools, hiring the best teachers, hiring the most competent administrators, electing a school board that is second to none, the infusion of intelligence and excitement and dedication by the whole community into its school system is portrayed in the history of Madera Unified. Now, look at the challenges that it faced. Look at that challenge of ethnic diversity that has been overcome. Think about what the district had to do and the challenges that it faced with the COVID pandemic and the stress that brought on, virtual learning, distance learning, coming through all of that. And yet, Madera Unified has risen to meet those challenges. And as it looks forward, those of us who are watching Madera Unified, we're certain that given the past of the district, the future just has to be bright. So my hat is off to Madera Unified as we celebrate way over a century of educating the young people of Madera and its environs. Happy birthday, Madera Unified. Adios.